So I'll just start introduce myself. I finished the IIN in July of this year, and I, at the halfway mark, started doing group coaching. I created a program, a group coaching program called Nourish Your Life, and I teach people the principles of crowding out primary foods. I touch on some career stuff. I just, either from my own experience, some of it which I learned from the school and all that, but it was really to kind of give people a foundation to see how coachable they are. So if they can get through that class and start applying certain principles, for me, because I do my business online, it's a little easier for me to determine whether or not they're willing to go into one-on-one sessions with an open mind and willingness to work. So while I still make money doing that, most of my classes were piloted. Unfortunately, when I learned about our 50 sessions, most of them don't count because I did them before we graduated.
Dang.
Who knew? I just wish that this course was just included as a part of our program. And then we're just qualified to just go ahead and test for the national boards if that's what we want to do and plan accordingly. That'll be a suggestion I make to them. I hope that they listen. But that said, right behind me is a restaurant that my husband and I own and have for 14 years. I help him administratively there. I have a social media class where I teach people how to use different features of Facebook and Instagram for stories and help them grow their business and create an authentic audience. Not in some weird salesy way. It's a total group collaborative kind of cool thing. So everybody gets to work together and support each other and boost their posts. And anyway, it's kind of fun. So with that, I just created this group because I was a part of a group in my first class, which was super helpful. And there was just a handful of, two wannabe coaches who just helped each other out and got some great feedback. This being as intense as it is, I wanted to make sure that we all had a coaching buddy. Because and I know that everyone's reaching out to one another and they're super flaky. And so if you guys are willing to commit, then we'll each have at least 4 people per class to work with. So I created the schedule in the yellow highlighted area. So if each of you will do a health history and post it in the Google shared file, I will also put our recordings in that Google shared file. So when we do our coaching session, we'll do a half-hour session with a coach and a student, or a coach and a client, and then another half-hour session with somebody else. So we'll do 2 per, so that should cover everybody, 2 times as coaches and 2 times as a client. Starting next week, we'll do that. So an hour of our call will be dedicated to that. And we're all watching and listening, we can give each other immediate feedback, and we're going to have some of that on the demo as well. But to have it intimate and be able to give each other some tips, tools, making sure we cover the rubric questions. I'm a little overwhelmed by that, to be honest. So I wanted to give us a whole week to listen to other people do their demos and everything during our regular class and see what the instructors say. I'll record those for you to put them into the Google Share file. So when you do your buddy form and you want to make sure that you're hitting all that stuff, you can listen for the things just so you don't have to try and remember it right now. You know what I mean? Does that sound helpful?
Very.
Okay, cool. So before our next session, if you guys would post a health history, whichever one you want to use, into the Google Shared, and then we can choose a partner for next week before we get off, and then you can review the health history so you kind of go in prepared. Is that helpful?
Kind of a silly question, but in order to facilitate different situations like she had recommended, I mean, does this health history have to be, we can make it up, or, I mean.
Sure, why not? I don't see why not.
So
make it up however we want. And I think, because we're only going to be a client twice, so
right,
you can maybe make the second health history or the second time we use it as like a second follow-up, like another meeting. Does that make sense? So if I go first and I'm a client and I have my situation, the next time that someone works with me as a coach would be the second time that they met with me, or third or fourth, using the same history.
Don't they have to be with different people?
They do. I'm just saying, so like if I meet with Jen as a client, you review my health history, and then say Jackie decides to meet with me as a coach the second time, she knows my story, so we can go into make up whatever you want. I mean, you can put, if you've had a client that's really been challenging and you want to really stick it to us and help us move some hard stuff. No, I mean, because we can, I mean, I have my own issues that I hired a dietitian for. So, I mean, there's
Right.
things that, you know, we have to listen and know when to refer out, right? So whatever situation you're personally in and why you took IIN is probably a really good start. So that's a really good question. Anybody else have questions about that?
So we're not scheduling our buddy coaching outside of this. We'll do it in here, correct?
Right. And the thought, but here's the thing. If next week when we try this and it totally flops because it's just too much time, or you get bored, or it just doesn't make sense for you to stay on to listen to that, then maybe going forward, we just schedule outside the class. It's up to you. I would like to observe just so I have pick up the lingo and all that.
Me too.
So that gives us 8 sessions in class, right? No, 1, 2, 8 sessions in class to observe and listen to, plus listening to the ones on class time. However, I mean, that's 33 that we'll get to hear. There's 33 students in the class, so we're going to hear 33 sessions in class time. So I figure we'll pick up a lot, we'll learn a lot, and then just for us, for purposes of getting our buddy forms completed as an accountability group. So.
Hey, I noticed on your study guide, it says Friday, 11th of November, but that's a Monday, I think.
Is it?
It's Veterans Day, I think.
Okay, so I meant to put the 8th.
Okay.
Should be the 8th. Thank you. I'll fix that. So all the meetings will be on Fridays if that works for you, and that's the other piece of this discussion. Does Fridays work for you well? I thought Fridays would be good because we'll have a chance to go all the way through the modules. We have a whole week to finish it. We just finished another day of, you know, listening to the demos and IIN. That work for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I put down that who will go first as a coach and a client. Do you want to choose someone you want to work with? I'll work with Stevie, as I'll be a coach first, and I'll work with Stevie since she's not here. So she'll know she can prepare and download my health history. So I have Ashley. You're going to be a client. Who wants to be a coach?
I think I've talked to, tell me if I'm wrong, but Jennifer and Jackie.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. They're nodding, so I think that's yes.
Okay, great. So which one of you wants to be a coach first? Of Jackie or
Jennifer, I'm picking you.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so you're gonna go with Ashley.
So is that the next time? It's the second half of the next call?
Right, so the next call would be so then I have Ashley and Jackie to go together, or Ashley and Lisa to go together. Is that right?
What?
I don't mind being coach or client. So just sign me up like a jumble, and
just sign us up. Who cares?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Stevie. So then that leaves Jackie and Lisa to go together.
Okay.
Okay, so Jackie, coach first, and Lisa, you'll be the client first. That makes sense? This scheduling, is it confusing?
It's a little confusing.
Okay. You know what I'll do is I'll go back through here and just choose. I just don't want to make sure I don't overlap.
Oh, are you saying we're doing 3? So next call, we're going to discuss module 2, and then we're going to do 3 coaching sessions. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
She said 30 minutes, which is a long time. And right now I have it slated to meet for an hour and a half. If it's easier for you to meet outside of this class, I would like to see at least one. Is that appropriate, do you think?
I had set up 3 others outside of this class to do just because I need the practice.
Yeah.
And I know she recommended doing more than the 4 if possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to do those simply because if that's still okay, because 2 of them were with 2 of you.
Yeah. I mean, I have two scheduled outside this as well. So it's good practice.
How does that work, Lisa? Is that still doable for you?
I am definitely still up for that, because to me, the more practice, the better always. I've already been doing health coaching. I think all of us have, but I'm still a fairly new health coach, I consider, in the world of health coaching. And I think it's great to get more and more validation that what we're doing is, along the
Right.
right lines.
Right. Cool.
And I have not been coaching, just so we're clear. I
So why don't we do an
graduated.
introduction then? Jackie,
There we go.
Good mix.
Jennifer, why don't you go first and then just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing.
Okay. Well, I did graduate at a huge transition in my life. I was moving, had just gotten divorced and all this, and thought, you know what? I don't have a job. I quit my career and knew that I wanted to follow my heart and do something that was more applicable. So if I'm going to go to school or go, do something like this, now's the time. So I didn't have anywhere to live, moved to Florida, moved in with family, looking for a job, and did IIN. This was fall of 2016. So I graduated in fall of 2017. In the meantime, I got a full-time job, again, in the fitness industry, but not one that would deter me, I didn't think, from my goals. And here I am 3 years later, and finally quit my job and went, okay, now's the time. I had to put on the brakes to everything else. I was doing coaching, personal training coaching, as well as a little bit of health coaching and more the yoga and essential oils and just healthy lifestyle field, but not, I guess it was a lot based on what we learned in IIN, but definitely had that on the back burner. So wow. Yeah, and it has been nagging me the past year, I would say. And I was finally, because of something happened in the fall that just kind of turned everything around and went, okay, the urgency is here, let's go. So I've got 2 grown kids. They live back in Indianapolis, where I'm from, and living in the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida. I see you guys with your sweaters on, and I gotta say, I'm a little jealous. It's so
I've got a blanket.
Oh, it's a blanket. I am very jealous. Yesterday, everybody's posting snow pictures from up north, and it was felt like 101 day before yesterday.
Oh,
yeah.
Very, very different. Yeah. I'm only wearing long sleeves because it's in the air conditioning. I have shorts on. But
that's great.
Anyway,
so you're still teaching fitness related things?
I'm ready to go. I am not. I had to step back to get myself fully immersed in this, or I knew that I would try and juggle too many things. That's just my nature. And I've already kind of started doing that, but I backed off. I rebranded myself. And just was on a 2-hour call this morning trying to get my website up and going. So any help is much appreciated. But yeah, that's why I scheduled some outside of here. I didn't want you to think I was being okay, no, this won't work. I want to do both. I need as many as possible. So
awesome. Okay, cool. Good. Okay. That sounds like an awesome place to be, totally all in, and that you have the ability to do it and not have to work at the same time. Wow. Well, it's brave, and I applaud you for just jumping in with both feet. And
I appreciate that, because it has been very scary, but now it feels so right now that any of that anxiety, little yoga takes it right away.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Jen. I appreciate it. Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go. Okay. So I'm Ashley, and I am originally from Austin, Texas. And about 3 years ago, I just had a lot of health issues, found out I had a gluten allergy. I have Hashimoto's. And I just took IIN. I think I started in July 2017, and graduated July 2018. And in that time, I was just thinking I would take it for my own personal, just, figuring out my own diet and everything. And then I graduated, and about 2 months after I graduated, I just decided I took the IIHC certification. I don't know if anybody else took that, but
I'm supposed to take it on the 9th.
But what's the point of it?
One more it's one more in my edification, little letters after our name, one more association. The more regulated this field becomes, in my opinion, the better we'll be suited to be ready when, if we partnered with doctors or we partner with other healthcare professionals, that there's a standard of care and or scope of practice that people don't violate. I don't know if you saw my post yesterday, but I kind of went on just a tiny little rant, because everybody who's in a health and wellness company, which I am in one, and I love my products, but it's irrelevant to what I do. And people calling themselves health coaches because they sell health products. And I'm like, yeah, same thing. Like, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think it's important, and I'm glad to take that system.
I was just kind of annoyed that I took that, and then now I find out there's another certificate. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But so I took that last October, so about a year ago, and then I just got this like inkling where I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. And I had all these friends come out and just say I want help with my diet. And so in January last year, I launched my website, which I'm actually kind of embarrassed because I've been kind of doing it wrong, like what she said on the call. Like I've been telling people like what to do, and I have a program. And so if anybody wants to look and give me feedback, my website is darlingdetox.com.
DARLING.
Yeah, darlingdetox.com. And it's obviously like a work in progress, and it's really about basically what I have people do is cut out caffeine, alcohol, grains, sugar, and dairy for 21 days.
That's awesome.
And everybody I've worked with probably like 25 people, and almost everybody, the minimum weight loss is 7 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
The max, I think, what?
I said me next. No, I'm just kidding.
Because that's what I did when I got healthy, and it really helped me. And but anyway, so I'm also kind of contemplating doing a life detox, which is like 21 days with no social media, no dating, no, like if you're single, but different things to try to like rebuild community and things like that. But that's kind of on the back burner right now, because like Jennifer said, I am juggling way too many things. I have, like you said, you didn't want to do. I have like 4 jobs right now, and now I have the certification course, and it's just getting really overwhelming. So, I just hired a mentor for health coaching, and she's giving me homework on top of all of this. So I'm pretty overwhelmed. But my day job is I'm planning a wellness conference in Hawaii next year. So a year from now. And
wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody's heard of Quantum University, but they're an online integrative health online degree program. And they host an event every 2 years. And so I have event production background, and so I'm producing that. So I'm basically finding speakers and sponsors. So I get to go to a lot of health conferences and find people to come to our event. So it's really fun, but I work from home. Also, I moved to Bend, Oregon. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Okay.
So now I live in Oregon. It's 24 degrees, but so Texas girl is a little cold, but I love it here. It's beautiful. It's Central Oregon. It's 3 hours from Portland. It's beautiful. It's really sunny, more than Portland. It's not rainy. So yeah, my ultimate goal, I think I mentioned this to Lisa, is that my ultimate goal is to be a Fitbit coach. I actually have a few connections with Fitbit already, and I'm a huge Fitbit advocate. And I've had a Fitbit for like 7 years, and so that's my goal. And the certification of this NBHWC, whatever the heck the name is, that one I have to have in order to be a Fitbit coach directly. So that's
wow. So are you working with the corporation to do that?
Am I what?
Are you working with Fitbit Corporation to make that happen?
No, I just know a few people that work there, and they, told me to apply, but then we realized I didn't have this certification that we need, this one. And so basically I'm going to take this exam in February, and then my event is next October. So basically as soon as my event's over in October, I want to go full time into coaching, but, so I'm trying to be patient with the whole process, but juggling a lot, and definitely need practice. And I definitely have trouble telling people what to do. Like she said on the call yesterday, I'm like, don't eat grains or don't eat sugar. And, so when we do buddy coaching, everybody's going to have to watch me on that.
You mean you have trouble not telling people something, tell them what to do?
Well, yeah, I tell people what to do, which is my problem.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ashley, for sharing. It sounds like you definitely have a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
Remember to take care of yourself during all that.
I'm trying.
But, if something gets overwhelming in this group, I don't want to add more to your plate, but just really for you to get the experience that we need and really cover the material as best we can.
If anything, I think it'll be helpful because you're very organized, obviously. So it might be helpful to have
a lot going on. So if I miss something or drop the ball, forgive me. We'll have a lot.
You've already done a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let's go to Jackie or Lisa.
Do you want to go next, Jackie, or? Okay. Where to start? First of all, thank you, Nicole, because this takes a lot of hassle out of it for us of trying to create, that little matrix of coaching client and coach practice that we need. So this is great. And then about me, let's see. So I live in Charleston. It is just dropped down to cold today. So I think it hit 68 degrees. I thought I was going to die this morning.
Where are you?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh my gosh.
It went all the way down to 68.
All the way.
40 where I'm at.
So
Wonderful.
So does that sound nice?
That sounds great.
At a certain age, to me, it's always good.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I do like when it cools down because I also teach hot yoga. And so I often teach 6:15 in the morning classes. And as I go in, it's been warm on my way into class at 5:30 in the morning. And so it feels kind of nice just to go in and feel like it's cool before you hit into the 105-degree room.
Wow.
So, but that's really lovely. It's a great way to start the day. I graduated from IIN about a little over a year ago, like July. And I've also done that IIHC test, which I didn't feel it was, as difficult as it sounds like the NBHWC one.
I agree. It sounds a little more intimidating this time.
Well, you have to take your because I'm taking mine in a week and a half.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, I got the feeling that IIHC is largely IIN people. Is it almost, it wouldn't even surprise me if it is 100% an IIN thing almost, because I don't hear it all over the place too much. So I felt like it followed right along with our IIN. So here's where I feel like NBHWC is different. And going out into the world as health coaches is different. So I've actually been through coaching certification through two companies. One of them is Coach Training EDU, where I coach young people with academic life coaching. And the other one is IIN. Coach Training EDU also does a health coaching program. So one of my clients went through there, and we compare notes between IIN and theirs. I think that right now we're in a place as health coaches where it's so wide and so diverse that when you say to somebody, I'm a health coach, even within ourselves, it's hard to know what we're talking about. I recently started working with this Fitbit health coaching that I don't know if everyone sees everyone else in the same place on the screen I do. Ashley, you're up here for me.
Oh, maybe I can change. Can you guys see everybody though?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
But I don't know if we all appear in the same location for other people, right? And, but in any event, so I'm doing coaching for Fitbit CareNet initiative. And actually that's a little different than a direct Fitbit health coach. They have direct Fitbit health coaches, and then Fitbit has initiatives with other companies. So I've come in through CareNet. And I know that there's other companies doing online coaching like Noom, and Fitbit and CareNet seem an awful lot better placed at the moment in the sense that they pay more, they wrap up a lot of things in a good way for health coaches. I think there's pros and cons to each one. At the moment for me, mine is focusing on diabetes 2. It's a Fitbit, it's sponsored by United Healthcare, and it is for their diabetes 2 patients have been referred through Fitbit and CareNet to receive a Fitbit watch, and then we coach them specifically through diabetes 2 issues and cover certain points off in our coaching. So far, that's been really new. That's only been a couple of weeks, and it's out of about 17 coaches in my team, 2 of them quit almost immediately.
Why?
I think they went to Texas, and 5 of them are kind of revolting at the moment. Because it is very inflexible, for one thing. Like all of us health coaches start health coaching partly because we want to be our own bosses and we want to live and embody a really healthy life. And the way that it's set up at the moment, coming into the position I went into, it was, they were not taking part-time, so you had to come in full-time. Part of the disgruntlement is that it was kind of sold as sort of a mobile job where you could integrate it with other things going on in your life, maybe, by the recruitment. And whereas in fact, the reality is that they do want you sitting in front of a screen, punching a punch card in, you know, at like say 8:30, and punching out at a specific time for lunch for your half an hour, punching back in, and punching out at the end of the day at like 4 or 5. I see eyebrows raising on that already. That's pretty.
Are these like regular clients? Like you would have sessions with them? So you're working with,
yeah, yes.
Or is it like random people show up and they're like, fix me?
Okay, so this is the way it works at the moment, is that they're just trying to get this ball rolling off the ground. And there's a whole lot of different companies doing, not a whole lot, but several different companies doing similar things. And I think that they're all trying to figure out how to get the right model working. So like Fitbit, CareNet want to pay their coaches well, and they have really great benefits packages, for example. They pay better than some of the other organizations, but in return, you're dealing with protected healthcare information and like nurses, and you have to sign off on regulations, and they are incredibly rigid about the things that we are and aren't allowed to say to our coaching clients. So that, for example, with IIN, we were allowed to say, we were encouraged to say an awful lot more things about how you can make make certain kinds of food. How would you walk through making I don't know, smoothies or protein balls or whatever it is, that might improve a different part of your day, or make recommendations for elimination diets, for example, like what you were just talking about, Ashley. However, through Fitbit health coaching, I mean, we are basically told not to really stay away from the food area, because that's, that is very much more nutritionist, dietitian. And so for a lot of us, we're like, ooh, we keep sort of, you feel like you slip up and say, the client would like suggestions on how to overcome that time in the middle of the day where their biggest problem is snacking. And how can they change that? And you really want to help them out with suggestions, if they would like them. We're taught at IIN to offer a suggestion if that would be accepted, and then being allowed to offer. But we really are not encouraged to do that through Fitbit health coaching. We're really encouraged to just simply ask big questions for self-awareness, to walk through a set of steps that give them a well-rounded approach to their wellness vision, and to set, a goal which we follow up. How they come in is that United Healthcare's members are actually paid money to use a Fitbit. So if they use their Fitbit watch and they do a certain number of steps a day, they get $2 or $3 a day for simply walking, taking the steps. So it's a big part of the program that as a health coach, you're getting these diabetes 2 patients just to be walking a lot. And so working with that. And then, and then the other part is that, you're setting goals to help them achieve other small things that they want along the sides to keep a track of a wellness vision. So the way that they come in is that United Healthcare puts them through Fitbit and CareNet, and Fitbit has had the platform and the hardware, but CareNet so far is struggling to get their software pulled together. So at the moment, so far, every coaching call I've had froze and hung in the middle of it, right when a client was talking about very sensitive information.
Oh no.
The one client that I really gelled with the most and set up a follow-up call with was reassigned to another health coach because it went into their hours, even though I actually set the time. So there's a lot of this sort of red tape stuff that we're all moving around, and we're not, as health coaches, used to doing all of that. So There's an awful lot of this revolt around, why can't we wear headsets? Why can't we carry a laptop instead of being stuck to a monitor? There's a lot of, discussion at the moment. So just to let you know, when you want those kind of jobs, they do bring in steady. For me, what it will bring in is a really good steady practice, working with a slew of incoming people who I wouldn't normally attract from different backgrounds in different states. What it doesn't give you a lot of is autonomy and an ability to make your own decisions. You're working in corporate life. So that's something. And on the side, I've kept my own health coaching clients, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to stick them, because I also now very recently have a child homeschooling who's 13. And so, yeah, my struggle, and this was 2 weeks out, and I'm now taking off 2 or 3 weeks because I've asked them, can you pause me while you sort out these software issues and things like that? My issue is that we couldn't even say, for example, I couldn't have my weekly taking my kid to the doctor appointment. I'm like, how do I ever do that again? Set up an appointment in the daytime to take my kid to the doctor, and the answers were, at the moment, a real struggle on their side. They want to make it work. And they were very happy to help me take that little break in between. And the other coaches are all talking with them about how to make it better too. So this may very well change for new people coming in. But just thought it might be interesting for all of you to see a little bit of what it's like in the corporate health coaching world when you come into these online groups and such.
Well, what's interesting is the part of the reason I want to work for a company like Fitbit is more for experience, and really just that ironically kind of the grind, just to like do it a lot so that I get more practice so that I can do it on my own. So it's not really like my full-time goal to be like forever a Fitbit coach, but just like someone that I really respect that's doing it, and also to just have it on my resume in case I do want to, work at another company that has more flexibility. But I actually did apply to Noom, and I went through. Did anybody else work for Noom or talk to Noom at all? No.
I know someone at Noom.
Yeah, it was a thing.
So I got hired, but I could only do the part-time, and then right as I got hired, they got rid of the part-time. And so I was super annoyed because I can't do full-time because you do have to be like stuck to your computer 40 hours a week, and I have other things I need to do. So I really would love a part-time thing just to get more experience. But yeah, I wonder if CareNet is different than coaching directly at Fitbit. I wonder how different that because CareNet seems very insurance driven and very medical driven, whereas Fitbit directly might be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more flexible, less medical record-y,
It's very possible. I do know that they do operate a little bit differently, but what Fitbit also often does is they join in on initiatives with others. So I think they do use their coaches for other situations too. So that I really couldn't tell you exactly. I do know that like working for some organizations like CareNet, as opposed to Fitbit, gives you, and we had Fitbit people come in and talk to us too, CareNet gives you sort of things like all of the insurance perks. Like my husband actually said, your benefits package is bigger than your salary.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of nice as somebody who's a health coach, but I don't know that I necessarily, like in this, it just depends on where you're at.
Is it worth it? Yeah.
Yeah, like if your other half already covers that, or you're in some other situation, then that's not going to be the biggest straw.
Right.
But
Really interesting.
Right. And right now, one of the difficulties when you talk about getting a lot of practice is that we all felt like we were coming into something where even we went through a week of training where we were made to believe that like that when it started the next week, clients were just going to roll in the door and we were going to be booked all day long. But the fact is I got assigned one call the first week, and the rest of the time we had to sit there and stare at the monitor and just field incoming calls and redirect them like a receptionist.
No.
And our headsets didn't work. And so it's kind of like there is a lot of this flushing out, and what they're realizing is that they might not be getting the level of uptake they thought by the diabetes patients. So then they're going to look at like maybe people who also have heart issues and so on. So they're going to roll in different groups of patients. But so, eventually it may be that you get client after client after client. And I don't know with Noom and with Fitbit directly how that works, but with other organizations like insurance companies, you're going to get who comes in, which may be nobody for a day. And so, it's something that we have to adjust our expectations.
Wow.
I'll be interested to see how this unfolds while we're in this class.
Yeah, there's about 3 or 4 other IIN people I know, probably more, but out of the ones I've started talking to the most out of my little group that are IIN graduates as well. And so we have a lot of this conversation.
And they don't require you to have the NBH certification to do what you're doing, but your Fitbit does.
I think it's partly also because they had certain things like they can look at other things in place of. So I've actually had health coaching clients now for a year, both online and in person. I have, and before that, I had youth coaching clients that were academic, that are teenagers, academic youth coaching. And so I think that helped a lot. And I have, and I work as a, yoga instructor, which was something that they liked.
I think the one that I was looking at was different than the one she's doing. The Fitbit Direct, they require the certification, but the CareNet, I think I looked up their qualifications and they just need the experience.
Wow, it's just, I didn't even know these things existed, y'all. A surprise to you, Jackie or Jen, because I had no clue that, I think I used Fitbit for about 5 minutes, way back when, and I think I saw that there was this option, but I didn't know that it was people like us that were in. I thought it was just corporate employees or some digitized thing. I didn't realize that these were real people doing this. That's extraordinary. I had no idea that it was such a diverse.
There's actually a lot. So through the conference that I'm planning, I actually just got back from Vegas from a conference called HLTH, which is health. It's like health conference, but it's all about like the future of health and medicine and where it's going. And I can say that a lot of it has to do with like tracking and using health coaches as, a secondary piece to doctors. And so a lot of these insurance companies are now looking at covering, actually I don't know if anybody knew this, but they just approved a medical code for health coaching. So there's, how you can like code for insurance. So there's 3 levels and only level 1 usually gets reimbursed. But usually when they're trying to get to a level 1 for insurance reimbursement, they start out at a level 3, and health coaching just got approved for level 3. So it's basically like what they're doing is they're taking those codes so that they can now track it so that they can get enough research to see if health coaching is working, like if the outcomes are getting better when people tag the health coaching code. And then if they get enough research over the next few years, it could potentially become an insurance reimbursable code. So that doctors can approve it. And then on top of that, another conference I went to in San Diego 3 weeks ago, they are talking about how the VA, VA clinics have just announced this huge initiative. I think it's 39 cities have just opened up health and wellness clinics at the VA, and they're hiring health coaches. And so that's a huge, and I think they're reimbursable. Like the doctors can prescribe a health coach at the VA, and then they like go and work with a health coach as a part of their program. So, it's about to explode.
Wow. I'll tell you what, well, as a veteran, I would love to work with veterans and do this. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, ladies. Lisa, you are just my mind just exploded just a little bit more. But I can imagine what it would be like to have to be in front of a computer, but I'll tell you what, I do it all day long now because I build my coaching business online. I work with people online. I will eventually go to like one-on-one, but even still, it would probably be like this because my clients, I live in a small town of 2,000 people. And only about 800 of them are here full time during the year. So
wow,
coaching all the same people, you know what I mean? Like it's just not going to happen. I have to branch out this way. So I just had no idea that this was even possible. So that's really encouraging. And I hope that as we move forward and get this kind of certification going, because there's been some language in the videos, I think that this will continue to tweak. So like NBH only has 2 classes or 2 tests next year. And if you go on their website and kind of read some of their literature and all that, is that this is an evolving thing. So we're kind of really at the beginning. I think they've only been around 2 years, and whatever collaborative group of people that have decided that this is the thing that we need to have some kind of regulation, it's probably only going to get more attention, and more schools will have to be accredited, and they'll have to submit their information. And just like any kind of certification, you don't become a licensed massage therapist through some random backwoods, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you don't do those things without having some regulatory requirements. So anyway.
Yeah, I am completely confused at the moment in a way when I look out at what people are saying in the health and wellness community that are saying they're health and wellness coaches. Like,
right.
Everywhere that I look, people are selling supplements. They're telling people what shake to have. They're doing, and I'm kind of like thinking everything about like NBHWC program here for certain is not about that.
Right.
It's almost like they need another term for it. Like they need a health, like there, it's just like coach is different. Like we're coaches where we're sort of talking and coaching through goals, whereas that is more of like a health, I don't know. It's a different word.
Well, and even after we graduated from IIN, I don't know about you, but I struggled with the word nutrition because we don't teach anything about nutrition. I mean, we know nutrition principles and we learned
Right.
about nutrient dense foods and, you know, superfoods and different, you know, smoothies and kinds of crazy videos we got to see over the last few years. But you know what? I did not want like my colleagues to call me a nutrition coach because I didn't want them to be confused. So like my first program, even though it's titled Nourish Your Life in Other Ways Off the Plate, people thought I was going to give them dietary advice.
Yeah, I've struggled with that too. Just thinking that like people think that I'm like very knowledgeable about all nutrition. And I'm like, no, because health coaching is really about like, what are your goals and what do you, and just, you know, broad strokes of like getting more vegetables and, you know, things like that. Whereas nutrition is very much like, you know, do egg whites have a lot of protein? And I'm like, I don't know.
Or people ask you like, what probiotics should I take? You're a health coach, and what foods make my metabolism run fast, you know, higher? And
hire a dietitian, y'all. Here's the number.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing. I appreciate it, and sounds like you have a lot going on at home with a kid at home and underfoot all of a sudden, and you know we all kind of have to adapt. So it's nice that you are at least at home to be able to do that.
I have to be. We had a medical emergency about 6 weeks ago, and it was pretty obvious that we needed to change something around here, and so that's new for us too. So, but it's just so important to be able to do that as a mom. You know, we're always all looking for those routes. How do we, you know, women are impressive. We figure out how to go through and rearrange life and make things work.
Yeah. Well, I hope that all works out for the best.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Jackie, you're up, girl. Gotta unmute yourself, hon.
Oh, Matt, have you been muted this whole time?
Yes.
We can't hear you.
Take your mouse and scroll down to the bottom left, and you'll see a little microphone.
Nope, can't hear you.
I will unmute you. I'll unmute you. There we go. So, Jackie, I'm so sorry that you've been muted this whole time.
We still can't hear her.
I hear you. So I've unmuted you on my side, so you need to go into your microphone settings probably. And if you want, ladies, I don't know if you know about the features of Zoom, but down on the bottom, there's a chat feature.
So Jackie, if you scroll over the bottom of your video, there should be a button that says mute or unmute.
And if you click the up arrow next to the little microphone, there's some settings there that'll give you whether or not it's going to be on your computer or not. Do you see the up arrow? Okay, chat.
Just chatting.
I think it's my computer, not Zoom.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh.
Talk to text.
So do you see the up arrow on where the little microphone is? Do you see any settings there that allow you to go through your computer? So mine says,
oh yeah, do you have like a earplugs that have Bluetooth in them? Maybe try that.
Oh, the world of modern technology.
right?
Are we also going to go over module 1? Because maybe while she's trying to get set up, we should just do that.
Yeah, so this is an 11-page document. I figure we can just touch on some things. Does somebody want to volunteer? I can kind of go over.
Jackie, just talk when you like. Just randomly say something, and we'll try to see if you're back online. So now, which document are we looking at?
So it's the Module 1 recap.
Okay.
I confess I didn't print that one out. I printed the other two. So
I'll share my screen and I'll just pull it up.
That'd be great, because I didn't get a chance to print these either. I'm actually dog sitting all weekend, so I.
Okay.
Jackie, do you have something that plugs into your computer for headphones? No? Okay.
I wonder why it's not working.
Okay, can you guys see that okay?
I don't know. I think I'm still looking at my computer.
So
I can see it.
Oh, now I got it. Okay.
when somebody I have a little Dell, but so whenever somebody boots out and goes to their own screen, you have to go down to the bottom and open up another window.
Yeah.
So that's lost me. I can't figure out where it went. That's what it does. Okay, so what is coaching? I think that we've kind of covered a little bit about our own confusion in that area. Because like you, I think if you've started a group program or even if you've made a recommendation, like on my pages, I don't have a website yet, but I will include from the IIN documentation, because there's so much back there about eliminating gluten and eliminate different things. But with a disclaimer, I think, to say that if you're going to do any kind of dietary change, they need to be working with a healthcare professional. But that it's there for them, but just not. I mean, I don't even know if I can do that. I mean, honestly, I think I graduated thinking I don't even like this. What am I doing? Can someone read it? I can see that there's a chat. Okay.
Jackie's just saying that she's going to sign off and come back on.
Okay. All right. So, are you feeling as confused as I am, all of you, about this?
Yes.
But I guess I'm encouraged that there is some scope of practice that actually takes a little bit of pressure off, to be honest. So if people know the expectation that we aren't going to give that kind of coaching. So coaching is always client-centered. That's been a challenge because I haven't worked with anybody one-on-one. For me, it's been all group-centered. So it's kind of an education piece. And then we come together as group and I coach them through various kind of stumbling blocks and help them, they're establishing their goals. And so I kind of am an accountability person with them. And it's been an interesting thing to do it that way and not have a really self-directed. I mean, they decide their own goals based on what they experience. I use the Circle of Life and a couple of other tools, but so you'll have to hold me accountable to when I'm to just be quiet.
The one thing I found interesting was that with one-on-one, we're not supposed to be the authoritative, figure, but then with group, how do you not,
Right. So let's see. There she is. How about now?
I guess also with group, the thing is, like I've done a little bit of group in terms of at the yoga studio. I've done some just really like detox cleanse workshops, which I'm not even sure through NBHWC now that I should have done that. But we just talked about the ways the body does detox and cleanse and things you can do to support it. So I don't think it's completely out of scope, but it makes me want to go back and look at everything I've been doing in the group. But at least a group allows you to structure yourself in a way that you can kind of stick to what you're doing a little bit closer. Whereas in one-on-one, I feel like you can follow the path that the client is wanting to take that day, which can take you someplace new and you're not completely ready to cover yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So coaches engage in the process that allows clients to do these things, and this little circle really is clear. I think structuring a one-on-one scenario is very different than group, but even still, just making sure we don't overstep our boundaries.
Jackie, can we hear Jackie yet?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay!
Okay, well, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to stop share so I'll go back to that. Hey, Jackie, let's hear it, girl.
Sure. So my path is kind of different. I actually got an undergrad in nutrition 5 years ago. And it was when I got my degree, there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of job opportunity out there for my specific degree, because it was a BS in nutrition and it was not dietetics. And it felt really, I don't know, I felt really unequipped to go out into the world as a nutritionist and call myself a nutritionist, because I took a lot of science courses and a lot of like biochemistry, and it didn't feel like really actually focused on nutrition. And then also it didn't really line up to how I felt. My mom actually had a degree in nutrition, and she was very, I don't know, it sounds very heavy to be in my intro, but she definitely had eating disorders and definitely kind of impressed them upon me. So I was always interested in nutrition and like nourishing my body, but I think it can also be really unhealthy, that like kind of obsession with food and meal planning and counting calories, and that's a lot of what I learned. Like I learned a lot in college of how to meal plan and count calories, and it just didn't feel very intuitive for me. Whenever I did that for 10 years, and I feel like that was when I was the most kind of obsessed with food. So it wasn't something I pursued, and I kind of struggled with it in my early 20s, with kind of getting away from kind of just listening to my body. A lot of what IIN teaches, listening to my body and figuring out, oh, I do like these healthy foods, and I don't treat them as punishment necessarily to myself. Like they're foods that I actually enjoy. And I lost weight. Like it was so bizarre. I've never been like a big person, but I was losing weight and not focusing on food and just being able to like just be happy and eat for joy and not really eat for punishment or comfort, which is kind of the way that I would kind of seesaw back and forth. So IIN kind of just taunted me. Like I was getting social media constantly, and I was like, this must be something I should be doing. I had no idea it was going to be like an intuitive approach at all. But yeah, I love that. And so I graduated from that just in September. So I did the accelerated. So I did February to September.
The IIN program?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of my story. I mean, I've always been kind of like a
Are you
coach.
working right now? Are you coaching or doing anything?
So I worked in the restaurant industry my entire life. I was managing somewhere, which I enjoyed, and I liked working with people, and that was like, I think it brought me out of my shell a little bit. So it definitely was a great experience. But I am actually moving. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I'm moving to Asheville in December, and that is kind of like a very personal move, but also like I really want it to be a professional one. I feel like I kind of need to get out of my comfort zone in many ways, so that's kind of.
Is your mom in Greensboro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I hear Asheville and Bend are very similar.
Yeah, that was a big thing for a while. I mean, years I've been wanting to move. I lived in Raleigh. I went to school in Raleigh and then came back to Greensboro. I like a lot of people have told me like West Coast, that's you. And so that's why Asheville kind of seemed like an obvious choice, because it's close enough. That's not a huge jump right now. But it has the West Coast vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When I was looking to move, I was in Austin and I was debating Asheville or Bend, and I chose
Oh, that's
Bend.
so cool. That's
Yeah,
so
they're both like brewery towns and small towns.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I've go like every summer. It's always been somewhere that I've like loved. It's always been a happy place. And then I just like woke up one day and I was like, why am I not living there? It's very excessive.
When do you move?
The middle, actually, when we get done with this, I think it's December 12th is my actual move-in date. But I think I am going to stay here through the holidays just because it's kind of a crazy time. So, yeah, 2020.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, exciting.
That's a cool place to
Young
move.
again.
We love going there.
Right. It's so beautiful. So, yeah, I'm excited.
We
Well,
just
congratulations. Are you finding a good fit for being, so you're a licensed nutritionist? Is that how that works?
So no, so I have there's so many things. So I have a BS in nutritional science with a focus in applied nutrition, which doesn't give me anything really. It was not dietetic focused because it was not a dietetic school. So really the only thing that it was helpful for is if I were to apply to like med school.
Okay.
Yeah. So the nutrition field is so, I don't know, health and nutrition, all of it. There's so many different facets to it. I think someone in my graduating class like got a job at like Curbs or something. Like it wasn't, or you could do public health was a big one. You could go into nutrition in a public health focus. But even now that was mostly masters. Like it was requiring masters to do that.
So what do you want your future to look like with coaching?
So it's interesting. Like I love hearing all this like Fitbit conversation, but like I really want to have like an online, more like intuitive platform, which now I'm considering like, do I want to have like I know there's intuitive eating certification. So that's like something that I'm kind of interested in. But I think just having a really well-rounded approach. And so like, I love that it's not a focus on, meal planning. Cause that to me is like, it's been toxic to me in my life. Like, so I kind of like that they're encouraging us not to tell people what to eat. Like, I think that really is, I don't know. I guess it works both ways. Some people do need that really like strict outline. For me, it wasn't helpful. So coaching people and just kind of like intuitive approach. And like, I guess for me, it's like habit formation, I think is really important. Trading out bad habits for good habits and being able to like implement change.
Have you guys looked into or heard of some Sonos? Has anyone heard of it?
I have. Yes, I have.
What is this we're talking about?
It though. I just kind of researched and I wasn't sure if it was. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's called Sonos, SUMSANOS, and it is it's basically like a kind of like a franchise where you purchase it, and I think it's like $4,000 or $5,000, and they basically give you a platform for habit change. And it's like it sounds really, really interesting.
So cool.
Yeah, it's and they basically there's two different programs. One where you work directly for them and they set you up with all your billing. It's very like turnkey. It's a little bit more expensive, but they set you up with your own website and everything. And then but on both situations you kind of have to get your own clients. And then on the more independent one, you buy the franchise kind of, and then you can charge whatever you want for it, but they give you basically a workbook, and it's supposed to be meant for like a 12-month program with a client, but it's all about habit changing. So you work with the client about like what habits they want to change, and it could be anything from eating to, it could be anything really.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
That's a franchise, like online franchise?
I don't think it's an actual franchise, but it's more of like you're some Sonos coach, but you have to purchase into it, and then they give you the tools basically. Like they will ship the workbooks for you. They'll do all the sort of back end work, and you just have to do your marketing and then get the clients, and then you work with them through the workbook.
Wow. This is what going to all those seminars and conferences will teach you, right?
Well, that one, some Sonos, they've been advertising a lot on LinkedIn and some other like job platforms. They make it seem like it's like a health coaching job, but then they're like, oh no, you pay $5,000 to be a part of this.
Well, see, that was why I was like, I'm not sure about this, because I did that as well, because I was like a little scared to do it on my own, and so then I saw that and I was like, oh, you're just buying into something. So It kind of deterred me a little bit. It
still might be interesting for me. It's just that I want, again, I think it's great for people that already have an established kind of practice, and then they can like use this workbook to like work people through. But it seems like a lot of money to still have to do all the work.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
get all the clients and everything. But it's based out of Australia, and they've done a lot of clinical trials with this specific research on habit change. And I've had 5 or 6 calls with the teams on, you know, with some Sonos, and it sounds really like legit. It's just that you have to pay like $5,000 to get started.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Jackie. I'm glad you were finally able to get on.
Yes, me too.
It looks like you have a lot ahead of you, and certainly some awesome goals to reboot, restart, get away from the fam. you know, just to reset your whole future is that's exciting. So good for you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
You're welcome. So I'm going to scoot through this. Does somebody want to cover section 2? I'll just scoot through section 1. Does somebody want to distinguishing the role of coach? That's section 2. So I'll just scoot through this and I'll just get there, and whoever wants to jump in will be great. The theoretical base for coaching stems from a compilation of different ideas, theories for positive development and growth within individuals. I found that this is helpful when creating a group program, because you can cover a lot of these things, and there's a lot of documentation in our back office for IIN. Unfortunately, their search tool isn't really very good, but if you download all of the documents from every module and do a search that way by PDF, subjects will come up by keyword. So I've downloaded all the documents from my original course. So if I'm looking for these ideas, like if I wanted to do a group coaching or a seminar or a whatever on any one of these kind of topics, it kind of gives you an opportunity to help people invite them to participate in your or one-on-one coaching. So this is kind of fun, just as far as maybe offering a little bit more than what people expect. A wealth of research, of course. I'm a research nerd, and so I get lost in the field of, like, if someone wants to know more information about blood, just as a friend kind of a thing, like I'll go look at various places and have you thought about incorporating, like I followed Dr. Greer, who wrote the book How Not to Die, things like that, and I'll be like, well, there's some scientific research that says, but it's not me, and I don't offer that to clients because I haven't gotten to that place. But just in general, I can get a little lost in this. I don't know about if any of you get a little lost in this trying to solve.
Yeah, but it's hard to not say things like that out loud,
right? I mean,
yes.
So remember,
so many good things that are in. I mean, there's just so much good research going on, and so many good speakers, and you can get you can get lost off on a million tangents as well.
Right. So health coaches cannot treat or cure medical conditions and should not be working directly on these issues. So working with clients, like you were talking about earlier, about working with clients that have diabetes, for example, is a group of people that have a lot in common, but we still can't treat them specifically for that unless they've been giving doctor's orders and the doctor says work with a health coach to help implement these lifestyle changes. So I would always refer people back to their healthcare professional with respect to what their dietary needs are, et cetera. I think there's going to be a lot more people that are looking to be more preventative than, and as health insurance companies look for more prevention as well, rewarding their people with it. So doctors and healthcare professionals are increasingly seeking the services of health coaches in clinical settings. This is what interests me for my future practice, is to partner with, like, say, holistic doctors that are in my area. But I want to come to them with something that I can offer, and knowing what my scope of practice has really been the holdup, even though I graduated in July and that's something I always wanted to do. I feel a little bit more equipped having a certification, knowing what my scope of practice is, and then to be able to partner with them with this transfer of health, transfer of health and wellness related information, inspire and elicit behavior change. On the previous page where it talked about modeling, this little arrow thing there, modeling behavior change, that's the biggest. Hi, Nicole, you have to get your shit together. You know what I mean? Like, you have got to be modeling what a healthy life looks like, and trapped in my office working all day, and, you know, find time to pull together exercise. I hired a dietitian. I can boost my metabolism using food, but I feel confident that if I can do it using a dietitian, even though I don't know how to eat well, if I have a sedentary life based on my choices, how to incorporate all that, you know? So working towards successful health outcomes, I am, the more I go through this particular course in this module, even with week 1, I feel more confident going into a one-on-one practice than I did graduating from my previous class. I don't know how you guys feel about that. So, settings, evidence exists for positive impact. And on the, we'll switch over a document here. The Module 1 references, there's a bunch of research showing how coaching can help people. So in your language, and maybe as you're building your websites and things like that, is to incorporate how coaches are distinguishing themselves as partners with, you know, the medical industry or the health industry, help people improve. Evidence is now showing that having someone helping them, hold them accountable, listening to them, where doctors can't sit and listen to their story, but we can. You know, we have an opportunity to move through some of the emotional stuff with them, not as a therapist, but to help them identify key areas where they can start shift their thinking and, you know, that kind of stuff. So restoring balance and health, enhancing relations, improving health and well-being. I think all of this really helps me clarify. I can't wait for your health histories because I really want to see how this plays out and how we talk to one another. Okay, who would like to go through the role of a coach?
What was the question? I missed it.
Section 2. I don't know, for those of you who printed it out, if somebody else want to go through this part.
Are you looking at which document are you looking at?
This is the Module 1 recap on page 5. Page 5. Distinguishing the role of a coach.
So I didn't look through this before, but I'm happy to like talk through it.
Yeah, go for it.
I thought this was a really interesting section. So it really compares the coaching to other sort of disciplines. So this one's saying coaching is not education. It's collaborative and client focused. So the difference is that we're client focused versus like having an educator who's an expert, like telling people what to do. I like that it said that the client in education, the educator is active, the client is passive, where ours is much more of like a collaborative model. Mm-hmm. You're in charge of the scrolling.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, and then very similar with health coaching is not consulting or advising. We should not be telling others what they should do, because a lot of times that makes them feel, you know, I thought a lot about parenting. I'm not a parent, but I thought a lot about parenting when she was talking yesterday about, you know, if you tell someone what they should do, there's a very much like a, you know, what do you call it? Like a rebellious thing that kind of comes up. That's why the intrinsic is so much better, because if you tell them, oh, you should eat more vegetables, they're like, well, screw you. But, you know, sure. But if you're like, well, what could you add to your diet that could make you feel better when you wake up in the morning? And well, I should probably eat some more vegetables at dinner. And like, okay, well, what's challenging about that? Or why aren't you, you know, that's a much better way rather than like telling.
Good. That's really good insight. And I'm a parent, because every time I use the word should.
Yep. One ear and out the other. She said some other stuff about that was really interesting. I kind of wanted to re-listen to it, but it does remind me of a parent, you know, like when I become a parent, I want to keep this in mind, because it's like, she said something about how when they make the choice, like if you give them options and they choose, because I have a friend here that is a really, really good mother, and she does that a lot, where she says, here are all your options, choose which one you want. And pretty much all the options are healthy, you know, options for food, but the kid, because he gets to choose which one, he feels more empowered in the decision, you know, but chicken nuggets isn't on the menu, you know. It's like, but because he gets to make a choice, he feels more empowered. Right. It's not a talk with a friend or a mentor. Yeah. So that's actually really good too, because it's not, like she said, it's not codependency. It's not, you're not trying to fix them. You're not trying to, be their buddy. You're trying to like work towards their goals. And you can't just like be texting them all day, every day, it's not a friend.
Right.
It's not counseling. This one was interesting because I've thought a lot about how they're very similar before looking at this, and now it's a little bit more clear. But I liked what she said about how counseling is really more about a diagnosis, like you're getting towards like how to fix yourself, and you're also looking at the past, whereas we are just looking towards the future and like what we can do and goals, versus like evaluating the past and working towards changing it.
Right.
Okay, somebody else's turn.
So coaching is, you want to finish that last piece and then someone else can go?
Coaching is forward thinking. Instead of looking back, we guide people to the future. And the goals you establish with any client has to be the client's goals. So I liked what she said too, is like have them come up with their goals. But I was wondering if we're hearing a goal, but they're not saying it out loud, can we say something like, it sounds like one of your goals, like if they're talking about eating a lot of vegetables, but they're not saying my goal is to eat more vegetables, can you say, what I'm hearing you say is that you want to eat more vegetables. Is that something that's a goal for you?
Sure. That sounds like a good question.
Like, so you ask if it's their goal rather than telling them.
But
like,
I think I heard them saying something about asking permission. Asking permission a lot to give them, like if you said, okay, well, it sounds like that you want to eat more vegetables, trying to figure that out. You know what I mean? Because if they need help trying to figure out how to incorporate more vegetables, well, great, here's the list that I have of, delicious vegetables and little tips on how to prepare them. Will that help you? Yes, that will help me.
Why don't you pick 5 to work on this week?
Yeah, right. I mean, that to me sounds safe. What do you guys think? What do you ladies think?
I think that sounds like a great way to, it's one of the coach's tools to be able to reframe, to ask the right questions in that way that it feels to the client like they are creating, their own goal without you're telling them anything.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Ashley. Okay, I'd like to share with section 3, establishing the coaching agreement. Go ahead, Lisa.
I don't mind reading it through. Let's see. I'll need your screen because I don't have it printed out. So establishing the coaching agreement, and it is quite a lot to go through. One thing I'll just say ahead of this before I read these is that I feel like I'm always concerned about the amount of time it takes to walk through these things, exhausting the client before we get into things that sound more interesting to the client. I think this is a great overview here. The 5 main factors of the coach-client relationship should include: 1, what's required in the specific coaching interaction between the coach and client. So what is required? Number 2, the unique responsibilities of both the coach and client. So I love that we need to go back and forth over what is the client's responsibility and what's our responsibility, because clients do often come in thinking that maybe you're giving them advice or something to tell them what to do, and letting them know that their responsibility, that they're the ones who drive their success, is so super important here. Then guidelines of the guidelines and specific parameters of the coaching relationship. That's where I do wonder how long that actually goes on for most health coaches when you walk through this agreement. But setting parameters, and I think I'm now moving on to the 4th one. I'm kind of thinking of parameters as boundaries a little bit, but setting the guidelines and parameters, like how long are we going to meet, for for, you know, for how much time, what happens if you miss a session, what happens if one of us is late, all those sorts of things. It's just, that does just establish that level of professionalism. So that's, you know, an important part of an agreement. And then you have what is,
Lisa, she covered a lot of this yesterday in the video.
yeah.
So if you are confused, or because I am as well, but I have taken lots of notes, like 2 pages of notes just on what she was talking about. I went into the IIN. I see it there. Back, she said it was available in the business toolkit after 6 months. I went back and pulled up their program agreement, and it's like super short. I mean, we could probably embellish it a little bit, but it's really kind of concise. So if you're confused or just want something to at least start with, they have kind of a form to at least emulate.
Yeah, that is a really good one. Actually, I do use their actual coaching agreement and contract.
Have you guys ever used Practice Better?
No, what's that?
It's a software system that I just signed up for. Another health coach here locally uses it, but it's basically like it's a website that, you know, you can communicate with your clients through, and so you put your logo on there, and they have like some prefab, you know, contracts and everything already in there, legal documents that you send out before. So I'm going to look through what IIN gives and then also compare it to what the Practice Better people give. But it's really just about being able to communicate and like have them sign online, and being able to remind them of appointments and things like that.
Awesome.
That sounds really good. Especially if they have online signatures, something with a facility to do that is great.
Okay.
I can't, yeah, so I don't think I read finished the fourth and fifth, but yeah, there was, so what's appropriate in a relationship, which I think is really interesting to cover with the client, and what is and isn't being offered in the program. Oftentimes, I feel like what is not being offered is just as important to cover as what is being offered. And as a matter of fact, I use that when people do ask me, like, what is a health coach? It can be really helpful to be able to say, well, you know, use that matrix of, you know, well, this is what we do, and this is why we're not a nutritionist, and we're not a counselor, and we're not, you know, academic educator, but this is what we are, and this is how we work with you. But using that, not what you're not, can make that picture so clear.
Some of you are already using coaching agreements. It looks like there's, you know, potentially a welcome letter, that kind of thing. Those of you who are actively coaching using agreements, what are your thoughts about how you structure it and how much time you spend going through that? Like you said, was your concern, Lisa?
I will say that the clients that I did work with and then didn't charge while I was practicing, after I graduated, these last couple of years at the gym that I was working at, I did take on some clients. I said it was a little bit different parameters, but I used the IINs. I printed off all my materials, kept them in a binder, and used them all. And I did what she had done and sent them out when I sent the health history form out, hoping just primarily to save me some time since I wasn't focused on it full time. I thought, we're just going to lay it all on the line right now. I kind of thought I was cheating a little bit, but in retrospect, I look back and I see almost the ingeniousness of the fact that they get to read that at home. Having those check boxes so they can initial it and then you can go back and see is, I think, is an amazing idea.
Would you mind downloading that document, the one that you're using, and put it into the Facebook chat so we can all reference the same, understand the same document? Because the one I read doesn't sound anything like what you guys are talking about, so I might have the wrong one.
Well, they're just it doesn't go over so much what we're not, because I don't feel like, I don't know about you guys, maybe I overlooked that, but when I graduated, they went over the terminology that you don't say, but this goes into so much more detail. And that's what I had kind of put on Facebook too, is my biggest takeaway was the examples of what we are not. And like counselor, I was almost using the term counselor you know, sit down in a counseling session. And oh my gosh, that's horrible. That's, you know, not at all really what we are. Even though I wasn't giving them answers, I was very much guiding them on looking inside themselves for those answers. It was still, to me, kind of a counseling session. So won't be doing that anymore. But yeah, I'll share those papers with you. They're very basic, but it's nice to, like I told her, I'm going to go over them and revamp them. And I've worked for some other small businesses in between time. I've held like 3 jobs the whole time, but in between times that these small business owners have had some fabulous documentation on what they are and aren't too, like a 3.4 5G ultrasound place, you know, non-diagnostic. She had her paperwork down. I'm going to copy a lot of it because it was beautifully written on.
Send it to us.
What?
Send it to us.
All right.
So we have we are supposed to prepare our elevator speech. If you guys want to post yours in our little Facebook chat, mine's really short. It's like 2 or 3 sentences. And I think it's, the tagline is, you know, I help people nourish their life on and off the plate. And I just sort of embellish that a little bit as a elevator speech. But that's my branding too. So I don't know, it'll evolve over time, I'm sure. So if you haven't thought about your elevator speech, let's get it. Okay, we have about 5 minutes. So let's just go through section 4 because there's only 4 sections, and then we will sign off. And then just, if we can just post your health histories and any questions, and we'll post them in the IIN Facebook group. You know, our discussion, I think, will be going forward. We can print the recap for each module. So we'll cover that first and cover any questions or feedback for the first like 20 minutes of the call, and then we'll knock out maybe minutes of the call and try and knock out 3 sessions. Does that sound fair to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Who wants to cover section 4 real quick?
I can. I don't mind.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. So 3 main competencies for the coach. Be calm, present, emotionally available. I think this is so important. While I haven't been like actually coaching, I'm always kind of that person in the room that everyone's going to come to their problems with, I guess. So being emotionally available, I think just making eye contact and I think that I love doing this stuff online because you do watch your face and like how you respond to things. I think even being aware of like your expressions, to not, you know, have like a judgmental kind of look on your face, even when you're not realizing it, I think is important. Then review any available client materials. So like health histories, and then just confirm logistics, I guess, is referring to like meeting times. And I guess that's.
So there's a little matrix here that talks about that.
Okay.
Scroll down a little so you can see.
Yeah. Sure.
So this materials, I don't know if any of you are using these personality typing inventories, but these are really pretty extraordinary if you understand them, just as tools, tangible tools that people can learn to understand themselves a little bit better. And if you know a little bit more about your client, like I use that life, the circle of life as a major tool and what I've been using. And I compare this to their health history. So if you look at their circle of life and their health history and their concerns and some of the stuff that they've been experiencing and where they're satisfied, I mean, sometimes it's so glaring what their issues are. I mean, it's 2 tools alone, but to be able to then understand their personality types and all that might be useful if you want to get into that.
That's so true. I think that the Enneagram, I think, is insane. My friend actually turned me on to that recently, and it really goes into like your internal motivation. So I definitely would. Yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome. Okay. So health assessments, it was confusing for me a little bit, ladies. I don't know about you, but in evaluating or at least just observing if they have available to them lab reports, blood, you know, because the health history gets a little squirrely in my mind where they talk a lot about like what medications they're on, you know, what diagnoses they have, if they're working with other healthcare professionals, I wonder if that's just too much information for me as a health coach, because I think they're expecting me to have some feedback on that. I don't know if you've experienced that, but that has been my, I almost take all of those pieces out of my health history. I mean, I know it's a snapshot, but I think just maybe a sentence in there that explains we're not evaluating this. It's just a snapshot so we can kind of see what's going on.
Well, I can speak to that. I had 2 clients this year that I did one-on-one coaching with. And what we would do is when we went through the health history and we would talk about some of those lab results, it gave me an opportunity to say, what did your doctor tell you to do about this? So that I knew what directions they had, so that if that was do you agree with that? Do you want to work on that? Like, it gave me an opportunity, but it didn't really, I'm not going to tell them like, oh, well, to bring your cholesterol down, you need to eat more vegetables. Like, I didn't do that, but it gave me a moment to just be like, what did your doctor tell you about this? And is that something you want to work towards?
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I wouldn't take it out completely.
Here's that piece you were looking at, Jackie.
Oh, yeah, sure. So confirm logistics of coaching relationship. I guess this is be flexible with client. It's motivated to meet a certain way, so face-to-face versus over the phone. Confirm time and location for method of connection. Guidance. Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to jump in, I don't have much to say on the logistics side.
So this, and we'll close with this, is this last part. So before we go in to our first session with everybody next week, review a little bit of this that might help us going forward, unless we're just going to pretend like we've already been working with that person. So get together with the assigned person that you're going to be working with next week and kind of decide how you want to proceed. If this is something into your sessions, or it's the first time, or all of those things. And then we didn't get a chance to today, but to go through the rubric, and maybe we ask some more questions next week during our training with IIN, and hopefully they'll cover that just a little bit more on how to apply that to our coaching sessions. So I don't know when the buddy forms will be available for us to really look at them to make sure that we're following along. So I don't know if I've just muddied the waters a little bit, but maybe I'm getting a little too far in the weeds to try and make sure we're covering everything for our final, our coaching requirements for that exam.
Pause for a second on that chart right above you. So what do you guys do to determine if the individual is an appropriate candidate for coaching?
I think that whole process of ascertaining the readiness and willingness to make changes in their life right now is important.
But how does that actually look?
So when you look at the stages of change, there are questions when you get to some of the earlier components. So the first one, is pre-contemplation, and like do they even realize why they're coming in? They're coming in for something that's an issue for them in their life. But it may not be, say, for example, often isn't the thing that you're really going to be addressing, that you really need to address later in the relationship. So they need to, maybe that they're having, say, issues with eating well, but they just come in and say, I want to lose weight. And so part of this is like, then following that through a little bit more with, well, okay, what have you done already? Have they already started making some inroads? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to make changes in your life right now? In terms of your schedule, your time commitments.
So you use it as a question, like how ready are you?
Right, but in different ways. You can use scales of 1 to 10 in different directions. You can say, what have you done in the past? You can find out whether they've really given their wholehearted effort to things that they've done in the past. Are they just looking for one more thing? How accountable are they holding themselves? So it's questions around those sorts of things. Are they really going to be somebody who, when they come in, they're ready to work with you? Or are they just somebody who thinks that if they sign up with you, it's like, I just bought the DVD to do exercise, now that's going to change me?
Right.
You know, it's funny. I've found that because I do this detox program with some friends, and they're of course all asking me to do it for free because they're my friends. And I have found, before I ever started coaching, I decided I would never do it for free, and that you have to at least pay, something. I don't care if it's, $10 or whatever it is. You have to pay something. And I found that because people put money towards it, even if it's a small amount, they feel more accountable towards themselves.
Absolutely. People don't value something they get for free.
Yes. I just feel like I knew that going into it. There was no way that people would actually make the changes they needed to make if it was free.
Awesome. This is good stuff, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Well, let me just ask you real quick. Do you think that an hour and a half is enough time, or should we schedule it for 2 hours just to be safe with 3 sessions?
I think as time goes on, an hour and a half will probably be okay. The more we get tuned in.
Yeah, because we had intros and some sound issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be quick then to go through the recap next time, like maybe take the first 10 or 15 minutes. We'll breeze through that. We'll give Stevie an opportunity to introduce herself, and then we'll knock out 3, and we'll try and keep them to 30 minutes, and let's just go team go. I appreciate all of you being on today. Thank you so much.
It's nice to meet everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been great.
Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. Next,
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for arranging again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.